Kia ora, good evening. Police yesterday revealed threats to contaminate infant formula with 1080 poisoning had been under investigation since November. Sharon Rees has more.
Anonymous letters received by federated farmers in Fonterra in November last year contained small packages of milk powder laced with a concentrated form of the pesticide 1080. The letters threatened to contaminate infant formula with the pesticide unless the country stopped using it by the end of March 2015. Police and the Ministry of Primary Industries, or MPI, held a press conference this morning but refused to comment on whether anyone had been interviewed as a suspect.
While there is a possibility this is a hoax, we have from the outset treated this threat as very serious. We are encouraging the letter writer to come forward to police. They may not have fully considered the potential implications of their actions, and now is the time to put things right by contacting us. Since November, an Auckland-based investigation team, Operation Concord, has been working closely with Fonterra, federated farmers and the Ministry for Primary Industries. This investigation has been pursuing a number of lines of inquiry. All necessary resources are being directed to this investigation. It is a multifaceted investigation involving a number of specialist groups and support agencies. If anyone has any information which might assist police, then we want to hear from you. Even if you are unsure whether this information will be helpful, we still want you to contact us so that we can make that assessment. You might be aware of someone who has strong views with regard to 1080 and has made threats. You may be aware of someone who has discussed how to access supplies of 1080. Let me be clear, the information you have could be vital to our investigation. Can I reiterate, please make contact with us.
While there's a possibility the threat is a hoax, police, government agencies and organisations throughout the country are treating it as serious. Over 40,000 samples of formula have been tested since November, and although MPI is confident the products are safe, precautionary measures are taking place around the country. MPI has released a video demonstrating why the risk of supplies being tampered with was extremely low, but for safety reasons the video shows how parents can check the packaging on products to ensure they haven't been tampered with.
Generally, cans have a plastic lid covering a foil seal. Some foil seals may have a pull tab for opening. Some cans may also have clear plastic film over the plastic lid. Check all these areas for tears, rips, holes or other punctures. Check the base of the can. Look for any significant bulging of the seals or of the can. This can indicate tampering.
Some supermarkets throughout the country have increased security for the formula by moving products behind counters to be monitored, as well as extra checks of products and security camera footage. Plunket New Zealand released a statement saying calls to its helpline yesterday evening were steady, with nurses giving advice to concerned parents and caregivers based on information from MPI. And while there have been no moves by overseas markets to cut imports as of yet, the threat has the potential to hugely affect regional economies.
Well, just to put it in perspective, Southland produces 25% of all New Zealand's export products, so it's not all produced in the region, but a fairly significant proportion is. And regionally we have 930 dairy farms, so it's a fairly significant impact at a regional level. When you take into consideration the dairy farms and the feedlots and all of the other allied services, it's pretty significant. It's early days, of course, and the industry's been very proactive in communicating the challenge with its stakeholders and also with export partners, etc. So it's early days. We're not sure what the impact is likely to be, but it's a fairly challenging period, really. At this stage, it's only a threat, and we don't really know whether it's in fact in the system. It's probably unlikely at this stage. There's a huge testing program underway, so there's a lot of backup behind the from MPI. I guess the challenge is if it did become an issue in an export sense with our export partners becoming involved, then that could be a problem. And recent history has shown that is a challenge, and there's a huge amount of work in overcoming the kind of negativity that's created around this.
The police and the Ministry of Primary Industries will address the media tomorrow morning with an update on the investigation. Sharon Rees, Southland News.
And figures released today show the significance of agriculture in Southland as the province leads the rise in the country's regional economies. Regional gross domestic product figures were released today for 15 regions for the year ended March 2014. All regional economies showed increases, with Southland being the largest at 11%. Statistics New Zealand said the increase showed a strong performance in the agricultural industry, and Southland's increase reflected the impact of higher milk prices, showing the significance of the industry to the region. The country's total GDP was almost $230 billion for the year ended March 2014, with the South Island contributing a total of 23.4%. Do stay with us. Up after the break, an unusual alliance between teachers and the government could prove beneficial for Kiwi kids. The $359 million Investing in Educational Success policy announced by government last year was widely rejected by the New Zealand Education Institute. The managerial-based policy was voted down, with 93% of the teachers' union members rejecting the top-down policy. Now, NZEI is working jointly with the Ministry of Education, researching examples of effective practice and transitions. The Working Party has until the 29th of May to provide the Minister with an outline of resources and career pathways needed to support effective practice going forward.
Teachers in schools and principals and parents have been asking for funding closer to the child, closer to children, special needs children, for example, intervention programs to actually support children with learning difficulties. And we couldn't see, and our members certainly couldn't see, how money being paid to managerial roles would actually trickle down and impact on children. So our members said categorically, this is not going to work in our schools and in our centres, so we held out.
And as a result of that, government have come back to NZEI and are willing to work in partnership with you on developing perhaps a more practical approach.
So as a result of that, you're absolutely right. We have been able to negotiate with the Ministry a joint initiative. So that's been approved by the Minister, and we're now working NZEI members and Ministry of Education personnel together to actually get out into the grassroots, so into Invercargill and around all parts of the country, looking at what is working for children and their learning, so what's happening, how teachers are working together to solve some of the problems of practice and to meet the needs of children at a local level by sharing their own expertise and learning from each other and trying new things and just seeing the benefits happen. And the other aspect we're looking at is about how children are supported as they transition from one learning environment to the next. And we know that that's one of the places where a lot of children can have difficulty. The joint initiative is about following the child on their learning pathway, and that can be between locations. It could be from an early childhood centre to a primary school. It could be from one primary school to another if they have to move because of work or accommodation issues and things like that. So the idea is that we're looking around for good practices that support the child going from one learning environment to the other learning environment, so the child feels supported, is welcomed into the new environment, and that the new environment actually understands the learning and the way the child learns and any challenges and strengths that they might have, so that learning continues and there's no lost time.
Currently, we've got a big campaign where we've got a video out to all schools that we want all teachers and principals to watch, but more importantly, they feed back through survey, because we've got such a short timeline on this, that teachers are giving their ideas from the right across the sector about what would be a better way to utilise this money to raise achievement.
The used import vehicle market continues to rise, with another significant increase following January. The used import vehicle market rose 15% in sales of both passenger and commercial vehicles for February compared to the same time last year. The Motor Trade Association said over 21,000 new imported vehicles were registered for the month, increasing the whole market by 12%. MTA says it's a promising start to the year for the whole industry, with every sector up on where it was last year. The new passenger segment was up 7% for the month, the best start to any new year on record. Kerry Vivian of Queenstown is a man on a pedal mission, a national off-road cycle trip to raise money for the Motor Neurone Disease Association of New Zealand. The 42-year-old of Queenstown today completing his personal riding challenge, cycling from Invercargill to Bluff, the final leg of his 4,000-kilometre journey that's taken him from the top of the north to the bottom of the south. The lifelong mountain biker has managed to raise over $33,000 and is running at least a week ahead of schedule.
You're doing it on a mountain bike as opposed to a road bike,
yes.
and you are trying to take some off-road areas where you can?
Definitely where possible. I've linked together a lot of off-road trails, a lot of New Zealand cycleways. So I'd estimate about 70% has been off-road.
The causes for motor neurone disease?
Yes.
Your connection is that your father has been diagnosed with that?
Yes, Dad was diagnosed with motor neurone about 3 years ago, and there's a New Zealand association which help people who are suffering from motor neurone disease, and this is my way of helping that organisation because they do a terrific job.
The motor neurone disease, is it something that you think has perhaps needs a little bit more time in the limelight, and has the recent movie of Stephen Hawking's life helped with that, do you think?
Yeah, it certainly has helped. It has actually been criticised a bit as not showing the true effects of the disease, because it is a lot harder than what was portrayed in that movie. And certainly it's a disease that they don't even know why it happens yet, let alone anywhere near finding a cure for it. So it is. The doctors often say it is the worst disease they would ever hope on their worst enemy. So it is a horrible disease.
You've got some friends joining you today. One of them, Jason Smith from H&J's.
Yes, Jason. I'm a planning consultant in Queenstown, and I've been working with Jason for many years on Mitre 10 Mega up there. So I gave him a call last week and said, ride to Bluff with me, and he was more than thrilled to do so.
You're donning the lycra today, Jason, to take part in this?
I'm hiding the bottom part at this stage, but very happy to be joining Kerry. Kerry did a lot of work for us in our mega store in Queenstown as our planner for that, and helped us get that underway. And good news is he may not have seen it, but we've got panels up and steel up, so it's great, and it's a fantastic cause, and to be doing a little tiny bit of it with him is great delight for me, that's for sure.
The biggest challenge was in the North Island when I was riding with my brother-in-law, Kevin Calvert. He rode the whole of the North Island with me, and he's a very bad snorer. And we were in a tent most of the time, and I just got no sleep. So that was the biggest challenge for me. It's been really hard being away from my family. I've got a 2-year-old and a 7-year-old, and it would be very difficult to leave them for this amount of time again.
Now let's take a look at the weather.
Your forecast on Q is brought to you by Environment Southland. Environment Southland wants to know what you think about our recreational water areas. Where do you go? What do you do? And your thoughts about the water quality. You could win one of 5 $100 vouchers simply by completing their survey. The survey will help them find out whether the water is being tested in the right places and how the service can be improved. Complete the survey online by going to Environment Southland's website, or pick up a hard copy from Environment Southland, the Southland District Council, Gore District Council, Invercargill City Council, or Public Health South.
And here's our weather for today, Wednesday the 11th of March. Temperatures around the country today at 3 o'clock. Auckland coming in on 24 degrees, 19 for Wellington, 18 for Christchurch, 14 for Dunedin, Queenstown on 18 along with Invercargill, 15 for Stewart Island, and Gore coming in on 17 degrees today. Tomorrow it should be mainly fine, but isolated afternoon and evening showers, some heavy with light winds, a high of 23 for Winton and Wyndham and Riverton tomorrow. Invercargill chasing 23 also, as is Tuatapere and Gore, 11s overnight tonight. Also chasing 23 nightcaps, Te Anau and Queenstown. In the marine forecast for Fovo, northeast 25 knots changing to variable 10 knots, southeast swell of 2 metres to northeast 1 metre. Rough sea in the east at times and possible fog in the east. For Pusiga, northerly 15 knots to northerly 25 knots and a southwest swell of 3 metres and a very rough sea in the west. In the long-range forecast, scattered rain developing in the morning, followed by a few showers, then becoming fine, northerlies turning westerly in the morning. For Saturday, increasing high cloud and northwesterlies developing, mostly cloudy for Sunday with a few showers and southwesterlies developing. And that's it from us this Wednesday. Sport is up next, but from the news team, it's good night.